فريد Zakaria joins me now, host of فريد Zakaria GPS. So فريد, you hear Jeremy's reporting that this is obviously goes beyond the Special Operations Forces, which have been operating over that border, that this is bigger, but the Israelis are describing it as limited and not as an invasion. What do you think is actually happening here?
I think what the Israelis are doing is implementing a strategy that they have long planned and held in abeyance. They have, for a long time, thought very seriously about what to do about the threat they face from Hezbollah, the constant rocket fire, the way in which Hezbollah has been able to drive out maybe 150,000 Israelis from their homes in northern Israel. And the plan was to do something like this, which was to begin with that lightning communication strike, the cell phones and pagers exploding, then artillery and aerial bombardment that would essentially try to destroy a whole bunch of the weapons caches and target mid-level leadership, and then go on and target the high-level leadership. But to complete the job, they do have to go in to get at those weapons caches. Hezbollah has its own network of tunnels, much like Hamas. They have to do all of that. So far, Israel was always deterred from doing this because of the fear of Hezbollah retaliation, Iranian retaliation, the retaliation of a kind of the axis of resistance that Iran had always talked about. But what they have done is they have pressed forward, taken the risk, and they have proved that that axis of resistance and Iran is more of a paper tiger.
So let me just ask you, I mean, obviously, and what they did, even on the pagers, we understand hacking into odometers of Hezbollah leaders' cars and possibly even into their smart TVs to hear their voices. I mean, the level of intelligence involved is truly incredible to contemplate. But yet, as Jeremy said, once you actually have soldiers and human beings going over the border, you get into you don't know what's going to happen from there. How confident are they that they know what's going to happen from here, that this limited ground operation remains that way, as opposed to something which it appears very clear that they don't want and maybe couldn't even take on, which would be a full-scale invasion or some kind of an occupation?
Yeah, it's very risky. But look, they faced a problem, which was they had Hezbollah raining rockets on them. They were trying to figure out what to do, and they took this calculated gamble that the Iranians were going to be, at the end of the day, more cautious, that the Houthis were going to be more cautious, that Hezbollah would not be able to quickly retaliate. And so far, that has proven right. I think what you're seeing is that Israel is the superpower militarily of the Middle East today. And it is able to strike at will in a way that it's very hard to retaliate. You raise, Aaron, the crucial issue. It's one thing to be able to get rid of bad guys. It's another to figure out what to do with the space, the land. That's what we discovered after Saddam Hussein, after Muammar Gaddafi, after the Taliban. It's what Israel is discovering in Gaza after they got rid of, the initial ground invasion. So there, you're right, and I would hope they understand that the best thing would be a quick mop-up operation and then withdraw back. But it's always very hard because once you break it, you buy it, as Colin Powell famously said about Iraq.
What's your reaction as Israel begins to push ground troops into Lebanon tonight?
Well, it's clear, Anderson, I think they're out to do three things. One is to destroy whatever Hezbollah infrastructure was near the border so Hezbollah cannot mount a kind of surprise attack like Hamas did. That's number one, because they'd done quite a network of tunnels and pre-position armaments as well. I think the second thing is to really restore Israel's deterrence. I think there's a widespread feeling in Israel that the Hamas attack on October 7th, a year ago now, was done because the neighborhood had lost respect for Israel's deterrence. I think that's going on. I think the third thing is that basically Iran had Israel in a kind of ring of fire of its proxies, the Houthis, Shia militias in Iraq, Hamas, and Hezbollah. And Israel seems to be out to destroy the Hezbollah ring in that ring of fire in hopes that it will collapse the whole thing, give everybody else real pause. and really brush the Iranians back. So it's a high risk strategy, but I think that's what's playing out.
I'm not sure what the long-term strategy is, however. Tactically, of course, on a tactical level, the Israelis have been successful. They have managed to inflict a great deal of damage on Hezbollah, although I don't think Hezbollah has been destroyed by any means. I think it's been degraded, but they took out Hassan Nasrallah, the top military leadership. So certainly they've scored quite a lot of tactical wins in that regard. But in terms of long-term strategy, I'm not sure what actually exists here. And I think this is a major problem for the Israelis. The north of Israel can only be secure if the south of Lebanon is also secure, and if there's a recognized relationship and full normalization of relations with the Lebanese government. And hitherto, the Israelis have rejected the basic prerequisite of doing so when it comes to not only Lebanon, but to the majority of, well, not just the majority, but really the overwhelming majority of the Arab world. And that's resolving the issue of Gaza and more widely the Palestinian questions.